we're waiting, let me find out a little bit about some people that are in the room. Amos, where are you from? And tell me a little bit about yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
I'm from Gauteng. I'm from Johannesburg in Gauteng province. I'm a lecturer at the University of Johannesburg, part-time lecturer.
What do you lecture, Amos?
Strategic communication, more focused on media studies, public relations, and communication management.
Okay, excellent. Well, nice to meet you and thank you for joining us. Let's hear from Ayanda.
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello. Ayanda, tell me a bit about yourself.
Okay, I was now currently moved up in Joburg. I am a finance manager in Gauteng and also a certified chartered accountant as well.
Excellent. And how long have you been in Johannesburg for?
11 years now.
Hey, and how cold is it up there?
A bit warmer than yesterday today. Yesterday was just very cold.
I can imagine it's been cold here too. But anyway, it's nice. We've had rain, which we need, and we desperately need the rain. And if that's what the cold brings, then we'll have to bear with it. But I see Carlin's joined us. So I'll find out a little bit about the rest of you a little bit later on. So Carlin, hello, and welcome. I'm going to hand over to you. Thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can all hear me. I do apologize for the video, but our Wi-Fi is a bit dodgy at the moment, so hopefully we won't drop off. If there's any problems that you can't hear or anything, we are recording the session, so we will release the session afterwards. As I've said, welcome to everyone. You would note that from my office, which is our relationship office at the graduate school. It's myself, Carlin, and then also Charlene that's in the session. And then also we've got Professor Margaret Cullen, who you've been speaking to at the moment. She is our marketing and entrepreneurship professor at our school, and she is our thought leader. Then she is also a researcher in her own right. She has published various articles and presented it at numerous conferences on entrepreneurship and marketing and so forth. So if any of you will apply and get onto our MBA program, you will actually have Prof. Cullen in our first trimester, as she is the marketing lecturer, and then later on as well in the entrepreneurship elective. So I'm going to give over to Prof. Cullen. She will lead you through the presentation, and she will give you an honest opinion regarding our MBA, our postgraduate diploma, and then at the end, we will also hear from one of our alumni, Dean Hasty, who is currently working in Germany. He will give his input with regards to how he found the MBA program, what it's done for him, and give you some sage advice in terms of timing and so forth. And then we will also allow you to ask questions. You are also most welcome to send direct messages or if you want to chat or ask a question specifically as Prof. Cullen is speaking, you can actually send it to myself or Carlin or on the chat if it is something that everyone would like to see, and we will then respond to it. So I will now give over to Prof. Cullen, and she will then continue with the presentation.
Thank you, Carlin, for that introduction. I'm going to put my video on for a short while. As I say, we're all having problems with connectivity and all those joyous things that we have to deal with. And now the video doesn't want to go on, but anyway, so I'll leave it off. So welcome everybody. And I'd like to start off by congratulating all of you. I think that the fact that you are here tells me that you want to make an investment in yourself and in your future. And coming to an information session is a great way to start. So you can be informed and find out about what our programs have to offer. And I think the timing is critical. We're living in a very changed world at the moment, not only with COVID, but also with the fourth industrial revolution upon us. And the only way that you are going to secure employment and jobs is if you add value to yourself. And I've been doing quite a lot of research in the fourth industrial revolution with regard to the competencies that are required. And obviously there are the technological competencies, but on the other side of that, it's all about the soft skills. And I think by you showing interest in furthering your career tells me that you would be the ideal kind of candidate for the new world of work that we are facing. So welcome, and as I said, congratulations. So as I go, you're more than welcome to put your hand up. You're more than welcome to post a question in the chat. Please remember that no question is a stupid question. I think you're stupid if you don't ask a question. So don't leave here not knowing something that you've come to find out. So to kick off, I think it's important that I give you some information about our footprint as a business school. In terms of South Africa, we are located in Gauteng, we're in Durban, we're in East London, Port Elizabeth and Cape Town. Now, before we were forced into going online, we would visit these centers and engage with students in those centers. So I must just highlight that although we are currently working online and teaching online at the moment, once the lockdown and the face-to-face comes back, we will revisit those areas. So this does not mean that people from Bloemfontein and Pofadder and Limpopo can apply for our MBA because we are accredited for this geographic footprint. So I want that to be quite clear, even though we are actually working in an online environment. So I'm sure you all come from those respective areas. But as I say, I must just be clear about that in terms of the way that we are accredited. So at the business school, we are more than just the PDBA and the MBA. We divided into what we call executive education. And just to give you an idea, I've been lecturing since 8:30 this morning, running a course on business viability and opportunities for the South African local government. I've been working with local economic development practitioners, helping them to assess businesses or teaching them to assess businesses that come into their offices. And that's the executive division. So it's not a degree program. It's short courses, specialized learning. And as I say, I've spent yesterday and today with them, and we've had some really great discussions. And in as much as they learned from me, I also learned from them. But the side that you're interested in is the graduate school, where we offer our formal programs, be it the postgraduate diploma in business administration or the master's in business administration, and then ultimately our professional doctorate. So we work only at postgraduate level, everything, as I say, is at postgrad level. So as a school, we have a philosophy, and this also gives you an idea of the lecture venues that we have. We have a lovely tiered auditorium lecture venue, and we also have lecture rooms where we can break into groups to facilitate. But our philosophy as a school is based on 4 pillars. As you can see, service excellence, engagement, facilitation of the best learning experience, and ultimately we want to develop holistic leaders. So if I drill that down a bit, we really believe that we teach business, and with business comes excellence in service. So customer experience is important, and this is one thing that we try to differentiate ourselves on as a school, having dedicated people like Dr. Jooste, like Charlene, and if you get onto the program, you will have dedicated administrative staff who look after you in your journey with us. So we try to minimize bureaucracy, and as you know, bureaucracy is a very common thing in universities. And we try to offer a one-stop service. So as I said, you would work with the academic coordinators, and with academic staff. We believe that our school focuses on caring and giving students not only excellent service, but an excellent experience, because ultimately you become the ambassadors for our school. The other thing I just want to highlight, and I'll touch on this a bit later, is the financial flexibility. In terms of payment, I call it pay as you go, almost like the mobile phone people. But so engagement is important, and what I shared with you earlier about the work that I'm doing in with the local economic development people, that's part of our engagement. We believe that we research, we create knowledge, new knowledge, and it's imperative for us to actually share that knowledge with people, not only in South Africa, but all over the world. And so from a local community point of view, we do a lot of short learning programs, as I said, and work, because we see ourselves as responsible citizens of the area that we live in and the area that we serve, so we need to help. So engagement is obviously with local government, but also with our business community. And as academics, we consult. So we are real academics. We're not one step ahead of you in the textbook. So our lectures are very informed from the real world. And we, as I said, develop important engagements with the business community so that you can benefit from that as well. So we do things like strategic conversations. We attend conferences. I'll be, most of the conferencing obviously has been online, but I'm hoping to go to a conference in Namibia in November. And there again, learning and sharing experiences. And the importance of this engagement is that it comes back to the classroom. So you benefit as a student of our school. We also are led and guided by an advisory board. It's very important that we remain relevant. So we have people from business, for example, Volkswagen, local entrepreneurs who give us advice as a school in terms of the relevance of our programs. From a learning experience point of view, and you would have seen on a slide earlier that we try to promote or enable a good learning experience for you. And I just want to emphasize that good doesn't mean easy. I believe that we are obligated to keep standards. And so we pay a lot of attention to academic rigor, things like frameworks and reasoning, critical thinking skills, which are all those skills I spoke about that you need going into the future world of work. We also have a very practical focus where you will learn through group interaction. You'll learn through that group to manage each other. And just to give you an idea of practical relevance, in my module, which is strategic marketing, I have a theme every year. And next year, my theme is personal branding and your digital twin. Now, the reason I've chosen this theme is because digital twin is a very new concept in marketing. But I've also found that one component that's possibly missing is that, you know, students get an MBA, they qualify, and then they don't know how to market themselves. So I'm going to focus on that with personal branding. So we all have a practical component. And then the main reason, you know, I always ask people, why do you want to study further? And the answer that I really like the most is the one of personal development. As I said earlier, the only way you can improve is to add value to yourself. So if you add value, then it makes more sense, obviously, that you would become more valuable. So as I say, a very good decision to study further. Our international orientation is all in the virtual world right now because obviously we can't travel. I don't know when South Africa is going to get off the red list. But I'll share with you a little bit later. And Dean, who's joining me later, will also share because he went to study overseas as one of our students. So that's about the learning experience. We give you a global view. We give you a view that's relevant in a developing context, and we feel that you need to have both of those. Now, the one thing that's very interesting in the world that we're living in today is that people are very aware of badges, as I call them. You know, the BMW logo on your car, or the Prada label on your handbag, and I can go on. But the same thing applies in education. And I just want to say this as a word of warning or advice, that you're going to invest in yourself in studying. Make sure that you are investing in an institution that is worthwhile. So looking at the badges that we have, and I see that Carlene's put them all beautifully on the slide. We have AMBER accreditation, which is an international accreditation. And the beauty of AMBER, I find that a lot of students want to move internationally. And with an AMBER accreditation that is recognized all over the world. We also obviously are accredited by the Council on Higher Education. And as you can see, we belong to the South African Business School Association. We have awards from EdUniversal, which I'll talk about just now. And as you can see, there are a number of badges that we have collected. And one that I would just like to mention is IDAMBA. And IDAMBA is the bigger brother of AMBER, and it accredits our doctoral program. So everything that we do is quality checked and controlled. And that, of course, is what you are investing in. So if we look at the rankings, and rankings are important, I know you'll all be looking around and say, you know, where should I study and how good are they? And the first is EdUniversal, and we are ranked as number 6 in South Africa out of business schools. And if we look at that in the global context, in the top 200 in the world. We also have another feather in our cap, which in the virtual world I can't share with you, but our business school is accredited by the Green Business Council, and we have a 4-star rating as the building, and we were the first to get that as a business school. And I must be honest, I must share this with you because I never knew this. I thought, well, why not 5 stars? But apparently the rating only goes to 4 stars. So we're at the top. We have a big focus on sustainability, aligning with the Sustainable Development Goals. And we believe that we need to have a green building if we're going to expect students to focus on sustainability as well. So these are the EdUniversal Business School rankings, and you can see the Nelson Mandela University Business School highlighted under the 3 palms in terms of being excellent. And as I say, these badges are very, very important. So to share a picture with you in terms of what our actual campus looks like, we are a standalone campus on the property of the Nelson Mandela University. So it's our campus only. It's only for the business school. And we have our own library, we have an auditorium, we have syndicate rooms. And the one thing that's quite exciting is that because of the pandemic and all of us working from home, we've managed to upgrade our lecture rooms with technology. So when we go back face to face, it really should be cutting edge in terms of what you are experiencing in the classroom. As I mentioned, we've got an international focus. And so when we can travel again, we offer trips to students, which are linked to different subject areas. And we have partner universities overseas, from America to Germany to Spain to Mauritius. We have partner universities all over. And then as academics, we lead trips where you will definitely visit businesses. If you travel with me, I take you to see areas that are culturally significant, like we took students to the concentration camps in Germany. The trips to Spain, again, we visited small businesses, we visited farming businesses. So there's a lot of culture and a lot of learning in terms of intercultural competencies. But they all have a business focus. The one that my colleague, Professor Paul Poisette, heads up, he's the head of the leadership component of the MBA. He takes students to into the bush in Africa, either in Botswana or in KwaZulu-Natal. And he runs an excellent program in terms of learning. What can we learn from nature? And students really come back enthusiastic about his trips. And then, as I say, I've taken trips to America, to Europe, learning about entrepreneurship. You know, what can we bring back from there and what can we take there perhaps as well? We also have the opportunity for students to study abroad. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because, as Dr. Jooste mentioned, Dean, who is the student over here, is one of those students who managed to do part of his MBA in Europe. And he came back, graduated, finished his treatise, and now is living in Germany, and he can share some of his experiences with you. But there are opportunities, as I say, when we're out of this COVID condition. I have a doctoral student who will be submitting her final work this year, this week, and she spent a year in Germany doing part of her doctorate. So there are those opportunities as well. With leadership being one of our fundamental core focus areas in the business school, we have or host an annual Nelson Mandela Bay Leadership Summit every year, and it's obviously being held virtually at the moment. But we have a global audience and we have really top recognized speakers on the panel, and this will be taking place in a couple of months. So if you'd like to join or possibly learn from that, I'm sure that Colleen's office would be able to give you the details. But again, a platform for learning and a platform for us to engage. So if you get on the program, who are you going to meet? Who's your faculty going to be? We have full-time faculty and we also have part-time lecturers. We bring in experts. For example, our economics lecturer is Professor Ronnie Ngwadi. He sits in the university, in the faculty, in the School of Economics, and he lectures on our program. We also have professors who come in to teach on the leadership program. And so in that way, you get a very holistic experience from a theoretical point of view and from a practical point of view. So we're a small staff, but we all have our areas of expertise. As Kalin said, my strategic focus area is marketing and entrepreneurship. And so most of us work in those disciplines. We also have a new component at the business school where we have people who are specialized in shipping and ports management. And so, as I said, the faculty who you will be engaging with, some of them will be full-time, some will be part-time, and some of them are practitioners from industry. So you will get a good holistic experience. Now, I want to be very clear about this. Who are our programs designed for? And I think of what I said to the local economic development people today in terms of entrepreneurship. And I said that entrepreneurship is not for everybody. Not everybody will be an entrepreneur. And I'm going to say this as well, that postgraduate studies in business are not for everybody. The kind of candidate that we are looking for and that we know will be successful on the program are people who want a rigorous business education. This is not about ticking a box and getting a piece of paper. My emphasis is on rigor, because you have to go out and lead the economy, lead businesses. And so it's very, very important that you understand the importance that we place on academic rigor and academic integrity. It's a good jump start for if you want to change career or if you're looking for a promotion. It's also a good way to change industry, because remember, we're going to hopefully produce a graduate who is a generalist in management. So you won't be a specialist in accounting. The one gentleman I spoke to before I started is a chartered accountant. That's his expertise. And then the management will allow him to move industries or careers. Our big focus is on leadership, because I don't have to tell you, this is something that is seriously lacking, not only in South Africa, but in the world. So if we can make a contribution by developing good leaders who are ethical and who are critical thinkers.
Recording in progress.
And along with that comes personal skills. I'm picking up an echo. Is anybody else picking it up? Ayanda, could you maybe switch your microphone off?
Yes, there's some echo.
Yeah,
Okay.
but if you, the two of you could switch your microphone off. Ayanda?
Okay, sorry.
Okay, I'm hoping that's where the echo was. Thank you for doing that, Ayanda. So entrepreneurial skills, as I said, that's my responsibility. I have a personal goal that if I can make 3 MBAs entrepreneurs, I'm doing my job. And then we create platforms for networking and people who want to network in the true sense of the word. And as I alluded to earlier, it'll give you some form of international mobility because of the AMBER accreditation. So how do we work? The presentation formats, and I must emphasize this, we facilitate learning, which means that you have to come prepared. I want students to walk into class that I can have discussions with. I want students who have read what I've asked them to read, be it a case study or be it certain information. And through the interaction between the lecturer and the candidate, you will develop things other than knowledge. So analytical and critical thinking, teamwork, and we have a big focus on team or group work, and every MBA in the world focuses on group work because we're trying to teach you to be managers. So what better place than to start learning in the business school environment? And then from a lecturing format, we will have, as I mentioned, local or international lecturers. You will attend seminars, you'll do assignments, there'll be group discussions, debates, possibly some live case studies if we can get that right under the conditions. So the program format works like this, and I want to be very clear about this. You have to come into the business school with the right qualification. There are rules in terms of articulation in education. So you would need, because we work on national qualification framework levels, so you have to have the prerequisite level before you can move on. So for the PDBA, we need a 4-year bachelor's degree at NQF level 8 or an applicable postgraduate diploma at NQF level 8 or an honors at level 8. So if you've got a level 6 qualification, you will not be eligible. You know, and this for me makes a lot of sense, but I don't know if it makes a lot of sense for students. You know, if I decide I want to specialize in brain surgery and I go to a medical school and I say, but look, I'm a professor, I think I should qualify. Obviously, I can't qualify because I don't have the underlying experience. So I really want to highlight that because I know you're about to apply and we're here to answer questions. So if you're not sure, please ask that question. So the postgraduate diploma in business administration is essentially the beginning. It's the pathway to the MBA program. And let me just give you a bit of history. The higher education department made business schools divide the MBA. We used to have a 3-year MBA, and they made us divide it into a 1-year postgraduate diploma and a 2-year MBA component. Now, I think that's very beneficial because when you come onto the PDBA, you can leave after 1 year when you qualify, and it also prepares you for the MBA. So your minimum requirements are a 3-year degree or 4-year advanced diploma. Sorry, I made a mistake on the other slide. 3 years full-time working experience. Now, we want working experience because you have to bring a practical relevance to the classroom. If I'm talking about strategic marketing and how it works in business and you have no frame of reference, you are not going to get the full learning experience that we try to offer you. You have to be fluent in English. The language of business globally is English. And as I mentioned earlier, you need to stay within a 60-kilometer radius of one of our delivery sites. So no Bloemfontein, no Pofadder, and no Limpopo. It has to be close to one of those sites, be it Gauteng, Durban, East London, Cape Town, or Port Elizabeth. So these are the kind of things you're going to do on your PDBA. In the first trimester, you will have 3 subjects. You'll notice that there's an asterisk next to the accounting for business. It's not a compulsory subject if you have accounting at a university level. So the gentleman with the CA would not have to do accounting for business. But anybody else who doesn't have any experience in accounting has to do accounting for business. And the reason for that is because if you don't know what a debit or a credit is, and you get to management accounting, you will battle. You will really struggle with it. Then you'll move into trimester 2, having written off the subjects in trimester 1, and you will do 3 subjects again, from operations management to management accounting and HR strategy, into trimester 3, where you do entrepreneurship strategy and management economics. If you move on to the MBA, you get credit for management accounting, people management, and management economics, because those form part of your PDBA degree. And as I say, we'll give you credit moving into the MBA. If we look at the cost structure for the PDBA, and you can see how nicely it's been broken down. There's a 1,420 enrollment fee. Then everybody who applies at the business school has to go through psychometric testing. It's the SHL test. It is run and administered by SHL. So they're an external company, and they charge 1,100 Rand, which is non-refundable. And we test students to see if they have the ability to come onto the program. So we will test your numeracy. We will test your cognitive, you know, how good are you with analytical thinking? And we will also test your comprehension. So how do you understand language? How do you write? And then we have minimum requirements with that, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. So for the 8 modules that you're going to do, it comes to 50,800, as you can see, accounting for business. And then we estimate the textbooks at about 10,000 Rand. So the investment you would be making in yourself is just close on 70,000 Rand. And as I said, you can pay as you go. So we have a flexible payment option, which is about 6,000 Rand per month, which, as I said, is an investment in you and in your future. So if we compare ourselves to the rest of the business schools, we value our offering as a good value for money offering. And the reason that we do this is that we're very sensitive to our market. So we understand that our market can't afford the 135,000 that UCT is charging for 1 year. And so we really, our value proposition is one of value for money, because we believe that we have the responsibility to educate people and they should be able to afford it. So that's an important thing to note. So with the PDBA, we have different study options. The first one is part-time, and here you will have 3 evening classes per week, or what we call the block release program, which will be for people who live outside of Port Elizabeth. So the people from Gauteng, from East London, Durban, and Cape Town. And here we have study visits, obviously not in COVID time, where you are required to come to Port Elizabeth. You'll spend time with us in lectures, contact, face-to-face lectures, and then we lecture to you via video or video or live streaming out of the classroom when you are back in your home, in your place of residence. If we move to the MBA, the qualification requirements, and as I said, we're very strict about this, a minimum 4-year bachelor's degree at NQF level 8, or if you've got the postgraduate diploma at NQF level 8 or an honors degree. Here we want 3 years managerial or 5 years business working experience, and those are minimums. As I said earlier, you have to bring knowledge to the classroom. You have to make a contribution to your study group. And if you don't have the frame of reference of how to manage people, it's unfair on the other people in the class who have that experience. So this is a practical application, and you have to have a frame of reference for us as lecturers to help you learn that facility. Again, there's psychometric testing, and we also accept a GMAT test, which is the General Management Aptitude Test, and our minimum score that we will accept is 520. On SHL, we score you out of 10, and you have to meet a minimum of 5 per category. So as I say, whether it's your arithmetic ability or your numeracy ability, your ability to comprehend language and those skills, and then your ability to solve problems, so things that are analytical. And we are not negotiable. If you've got a 3 and a 2 and a 1, you will not be accepted onto the program. And there's a reason for that. The reason for that is because we know that you have to have a certain foundation ability to be able to pass our courses. You know, I can beg and plead with Rassie Erasmus to play in the Springbok rugby side, but he's not going to let me because I don't have the ability or the capability. So I want to make this very clear. If you don't make the cutoff on the psychometric testing, we will still interview you and give you advice, but it's a no-go. So then you have to write an essay motivating why you want to study, and then there will be a final interview where we will interview you and have a conversation with you and get an idea of your ability combined with all these other things. So the MBA also works in trimester modules, and in the first year, you will do things like data analysis, strategic marketing, you'll do your research project proposal. If you haven't done people management on the PDBA, you will do it here. And as you can see, accounting for business, managerial economics, strategy, and strategic operations. Those are the core modules. They're very core to the program. And then we start getting the integrated modules, which would be things like international business, where we rely on your knowledge of all the core modules to actually be able to do the integrated modules. Also, you will do leadership 1 and 2, which are year modules, and you will explore yourself. You will develop your own leadership brand. And as I said earlier, Professor Poyser does excellent work in terms of leadership. Then you get to do electives, and you can choose 2, from entrepreneurship to management of technology to business and society, sustainable development. You do 2 of those, and then you write your business research project or treatise, which is 20,000 words. So here you are required to identify a topic that is of business relevance, and you will go and do empirical work. So you'll collect data, in other words, and you would write up your treatise and then submit that. That's the final component of the MBA. So if we look at the structure, this is what you would do in trimester 1. The same rule applies for accounting for business. If you're coming straight into the MBA, if you qualify, then and you've got accounting, then you wouldn't have to do it. And then we move into trimester 2 in the first year. As you see, the research project proposal, management accounting into trimester 3, and leadership 1 runs through that whole year. Ayanda, I see if you've passed the psychometric test for the PDBA, you don't have to do it again for the MBA. Then on year 2, you would do international business, your electives, management economics, and then you spend the last 2 trimesters writing up your research and completing the second leadership module. So it's an intensive course, you know, we work you hard. The workload is a lot, so you have to be a very good time manager, and you must never fall behind because we work at a very, very fast pace. The leadership development, as I said, is one of our core competencies at the business school. And in year 1, you would learn about your leadership relationships with yourself and with other people, manager as coach. And then in year 2, leadership within the organization and the wider community. And we look at conscious business, African leadership, ecological leadership, and as I mentioned earlier, you would develop your own personal brand. So as I said, these are out of COVID, but for the part-time, which would be Port Elizabeth, you come to class at night, and you also have class on most Saturdays, depending on what subject we're busy with you. And then for the block release, exactly the same for the MBA as for the PDBA. You come to Port Elizabeth for study visits, and then we lecture to you either via video or through video conferencing or through Zoom, like I'm talking to you now. This has given us a lot of opportunity to reach people more frequently and probably in a more comfortable manner. So as I mentioned, the classes are in the evening. Tests are written and exams in the centers where so for Port Elizabeth, you have to write in Port Elizabeth. If you're a part-time student, you will all be assigned to a group, and that's your group for the rest of your study period. You have to meet with them, you do group assignments, and you have to manage yourselves within that group. And the group component of assignments counts 30 to 40% of your class mark. So the important thing about the group is that everybody has to contribute. There's no place for free riding. You know, you can't piggyback on anybody because remember, you want the qualification. And I always ask students, is it about the piece of paper or is it about the knowledge? And we want graduates who have knowledge. Then on the electives, if we bring people in from overseas, it would run for 4 days. My entrepreneurship elective runs for 3 days, and then 1 day later in the year for business plan presentations. For the block release, as I say, you would be in your specific areas, but you would have to come to PE 3 times a year. Then we would video conference or live stream out of the lecture rooms to you so you can dial in. All the tests and exams are written in the center where you are registered. So if you're in Gauteng, you write in Gauteng. And we have the facilities there to do that. Group sessions, again, you have to work together. And then we have the electives, which would run on the same basis, whether you're from Port Elizabeth or whether you are from a block student as well. So I think that gives you a fair idea of how we run the program. And then I just want to highlight the impact that COVID has had. We've continued right throughout the whole pandemic. So none of our courses have actually stopped, and we've gone online, but we will revert back to maybe a hybrid model in terms of using Zoom, using video, live streaming out of classes. And then also very importantly, all our tests and exams are written online. We've moved to what we call continuous evaluation. So you will do end of module assessments and things like that, but the rigor and the standard has remained the same either on or offline. So how much is all of this going to cost you? Again, you've got to pay for the SHL test. There's a registration fee. In total with year 1 and year 2, because we want you to finish in 2 years, it would be a total of about, say, 122,000, which again is a great investment in yourself, and it works out to about 5,100 per month. And as you note there on the screen, the prices have not yet been finalized by the university, so you can expect an increase in that. And if you are an international student, there are different costs to South African students, and that's the law of the country, not of the university. So let's look where we sit in comparison. GIBS, you'll be paying $500,000. UCT, 300 and something thousand. So again, the same principle applies. we are very aware of the standard of our MBA and the affordability of it. So this is why we've positioned ourselves in the market at that price and at that level. We also, as I say, we're very aware of that, specifically being in the Eastern Cape. So the one thing I want to highlight is that applications have deadlines. And as you can see, we will close application on the 1st of November at 5 o'clock, and that is not negotiable. The reason being is we still have to interview you. We have to do all sorts of things to get you into the system. So late applications are not accepted. And of course, you can contact Dr. Jooste or Charlene Castellane in terms of what needs to be done. And they're both in the room, so you can ask them. And you can log on to our website to get more information from that. So I hope I've given you a comprehensive overview in terms of what to expect. So I think, Lynn, if it's okay with you, let's have a few minutes for questions and answers. I don't know if Dean is in the room, but hello, Dean, how are you?
Fine, thanks. Fine, thanks yourself.
I'm fine. Thanks for joining us. Are you going to share a presentation or are you just going to talk?
Actually, I can just talk, actually, if that's okay, Prof. Cullen, yeah.
No, that's perfect. I'll stop sharing my screen. But before I hand over to Dean, is there anybody who has any questions? Let me ask this. Are you all still keen to study further? Or are you nervous? Hey? Okay, well, if there are no questions, I'm going to hand over to Dean. And first of all, I'd like to thank him immensely for joining us from Germany. As I showed you earlier in the picture, Dean was one of our students who had the opportunity to go and study at Reutlingen University in Germany. He still graduated out of our university and came back after his visit to Germany, graduated and has relocated to Germany. But I think he'll share probably some of the good, the bad, and the ugly with you in terms of the MBA, not only in terms of the course, but what it's done for him in his ventures thereafter. So Dean, I'm going to hand over to you and let's see what you have to say. Thanks very much.
No problem. Maybe, do you know what? I've been pitching investors for the past 3 months of my life. So maybe I can just put on the camera here and everyone can see.
Cool.
Great.
Oh,
nice to see everyone.
Hello.
Yes. As you can see, I've got a bit of a tan. It's summer here in Germany at the moment. So anyways, so yeah, thanks for having me. I think I came into the point where Prof. Cullen, you mentioned that the NMMU wants you to go away with knowledge and a piece of paper. And this is such a key element that I'm really passionate about, and we can touch on that point in the next moment. So I'm from Cape Town, South Africa. I worked for 6 years in investment markets in Cape Town, and then took the decision after 6 years, after having realized that I had some blind spots in terms of my skill development, as I always wanted to be an entrepreneur and business founder, that I really needed to hone in on these skills and develop them rather. Then I decided to do an MBA. Naturally would have been looking at UCT and Stellenbosch, but I think the key element for me in Port Elizabeth at the NMMU was the quality of professors there. It also offered a full-time program at that time, which was 2 years, as well the different subjects that were offered in that time. And so what it allowed me to do is that my father has a family business in Port Elizabeth, and because the lectures only started at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, it actually allowed me to also work while doing a full-time MBA 3 times per week with my father. So some of the learnings that I garnered from the MBA, I can actually implement in his business. And now I'll touch on this other point about gaining knowledge. what I've actually seen in the market, especially on some MBAs, is that a lot of them go into the program just wanting to study to get this piece of paper, and then they think they can go and get this next job. Quite frankly, I think maybe 5% of people that I know have actually gone to done that. It definitely does open doors for you. But what a key element is from the MBA is actually the application part. So I think for all future MBAs, and I believe the MBA now at the NMMU is part-time, and I assume most of you are working then, is that you really have buy-in from your bosses where you're currently working in. Of course, family, this is another emotional separate support factor that you need, but you really have buy-in from your bosses, whereas you can actually apply some of the learnings as you go along in your actual day-to-day work though, because this application element from theory to application is very, very important. And as you go out and you would like to grow as your skills develop and you would like to grow personally and go and get that bigger and better job, let's call it, it makes you much more valuable at the end of the day. So for me, this was a key learning. After the first year at NMMU, I actually, as Prof. Cullen mentioned, I had the opportunity to go to Reutlingen University in Germany. And I finished my MBA over there, and I had 6 more subjects to do. And this was just a completely different element that really enhanced my personal skill development by doing subjects overseas, which I hadn't done in South Africa or in Germany, but also working with different types of cultures and different types of thinkings for people from Germany to India, to Russia, to Kazakhstan, to Asia. So for me, this was a key element that really helped me polish off the MBA at the end of the day. So I think the opportunities that the NMMU offer from this perspective is something to look at. Then based on the career, I decided to stay in Germany. I had a stint as well in investment banking at Commerzbank, actually in Frankfurt. I stayed there for 2 years. And for various reasons, I took this job at Commerzbank, which was a great financial pay. The MBA really helped me in the role, but not as much as I wanted it to support me in the fact that I actually wanted to be an entrepreneur, which was my end goal. So after 2 years at Commerzbank, I joined a very early stage startup, which was actually a venture capital fund. At the time that I joined, it was 3 to 4 people. In the time that I was there for 3 years, it was a venture capital fund actually investing in early stage startups in Africa. So fintech, medtechs, legal techs between South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, Ethiopia, Ghana, etc. But for me, a key element where my MBA really came into practice, and I only realized that once I came into this early stage startup, when you're 3 people and you build a business that scales to 42 people in the space in 2.5 years, this really generalist type of learnings and development that you kind of get from the MBA, you really can implement it in this type of environment. I'm not saying that a startup is right for everyone, but here I could really hone in on the skills that I developed from the NMMU in terms of marketing strategies. Actually, organizational behavior was one of the biggest topics that I could implement, the various methodologies as we scaled up our business. The financial element to it, though, HR as well came into play. So this is where I really felt that the MBA really served me well for those 3 years, and we had great success with the company, though. And now still today, I'll get to where I am right now, is after 3 years with this early stage company, or the company actually grew quite a bit in the past 3.5 years. And I decided to leave the company at the beginning of the year to actually start my own company with 2 co-founders, and which is a fintech digital platform which actually supports quick financing for early stage startups and late stage startups in the European market. And I'm just seeing every single day, every day that goes by as a startup founder, there are a gazillion things to do, but the learnings from the MBA are really coming into play again from the finance perspective, the marketing perspective, and really is helping me drive the business as we grow and hiring more people as well. Chatting to investors, as I previously said. The MBA really kind of completes you to be able to be this type of profile and to be able to drive this type of businesses. So I think maybe in summary, this is a bit of a monologue now. Startup is not the way to go. It's not for everyone. But if you decide to do an MBA, make sure that you can apply your knowledge in your corporate environment that you are, because it will only help you as you grow within the business, and you grow up the corporate ladder though. So, and it will make you a success of yourself. So, yeah, I just maybe very high level on myself and how the MBA really supported me. Happy to take any questions if there are, from that perspective. Otherwise, Prof. Cullen, over to you.
Thank you, Dean, and thank you for sharing that with us. Before I ask if there are any questions for Dean, he mentioned one thing that I must be honest, I forgot to say, and that is that this is a very big ask. So I want you to think about, are you emotionally ready to make kind of commitment? And not only you know, if you're married, does your wife think or your husband think this is a good idea? If you've got children, because I can guarantee you, you're going to spend Saturdays and Sundays and evenings working. So that's a big ask, hey, Dean?
Yeah, it's one key element, just to dovetail off that, Prof. Cullen, is that you really need the support structures, husbands, wives, families, whatever it is, to really support you in this journey. Because I think that is the part-time MBA 3 years now at NMMU?
2 years.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, great. I mean, you don't want to kind of linger into 3, 4, 5 years down the line, right? So really, it's a big time commitment. But if you have the support structures around you, like I was very fortunate to have, it's amazing. It really helps you to get the MBA done quicker, and allows you just to like really focus on it and immerse yourself into the learnings.
And then the other thing that Dean mentioned is support from your organization where you work. You know, you have, I don't know if you get study leave or whatever, but more importantly, that you have a platform to apply your knowledge as you go. Yeah. For me, there are 3 conversations. The first one is with yourself, to say, is this for me? Am I ready for it? And am I capable of doing this? The second one is with your relationships, as I say, your wife, your girlfriend, your whatever, your children. And the third one is with your place of employment. And this is why we do information sessions, so that we can not warn, but give people advice in terms of what the ask is, because it is a big ask in terms of time. So if you're a keen golfer, your handicap will definitely go up. So just think about that. So are there any questions in the room for Dean?
Yes, please. It's Mangaliso here.
Hello, Mangaliso.
Yeah, how is it there?
Good.
Okay. Yeah. I'm a mechanical engineer.
Mm-hmm.
So at the moment, I mean, I'm about to move to a position where I'm going to be running a project engineering department. So my question is, for me, is it the good maybe a way to do a MBA, or maybe the other one, the postgraduate? Which one do you think maybe it's the right for me? And because I'm more into engineering, and also I also have this finance experience, but I have never done any course in finance. I only met finance at work.
Mangaliso, I'm going to answer you. First of all, the question. The important thing is, first of all, are you going to have the time? So if you're going into a new job with a new project that you're going to be in control of, I would recommend that you sit down and have a look at the time that you would have. The second thing, and I don't know if you said you had a diploma in engineering or a degree in engineering.
It's a degree.
A degree. Okay. The other thing, being an engineer, how good are your writing skills? I find engineers are good with the quantitative subjects, but they battle with the qualitative subjects. But I would say if you qualify, I would go straight into the MBA. You know, if you, as I say, if you qualify from a education point of view and management experience point of view, I would go straight into the MBA. That would be my advice. Kalin, I don't know if you want to add to that, or Dean, if you want to make a comment.
No, I think not from my side. Maybe Kalin, or...
Yes, no, thank you. I actually do agree, because obviously if you've done a degree in engineering, then obviously it's your NQF 9. Depending on your work experience, I would also, obviously we'll have to look at the CV and just check the NQF level of the qualification. But then I would also recommend actually straight into the MBA. We've got quite a few engineers with a BEng qualification on the MBA. And what we find with them is that they are not just engineer in name, they actually do either run part of a business. So there's quite a lot of business skills that they have actually also acquired. So I would suggest the MBA, but obviously if you go through to the interview will also ask you certain questions from there as well.
No, thanks for that. Yeah.
Thanks, Colleen. I see in Tumbanani, your hand is up. If you'd like to ask a question.
Yes, good evening, everybody. I'm Dominani Ndebe. I'm from the Eastern Cape. I'm closer to East London. Just want to find out, I'm a lawyer by profession. I've done LLB and LLM, but I have attended one of those executive courses at Stellenbosch Senior Managers Development Program, which is the program that gave me interest in pursuing MBA. I just want to find out, have you in your program, have any people in the legal field? At the moment, I'm a senior manager at Legal Aid South Africa.
I'll answer that question. Actually, the one lady who studied with Dean, Bianca, was a lawyer. She was from Zimbabwe. Yeah. Yes, we have had legal people on the program, and Bianca's the only one that I can think of right now. But to answer your question, yes, we do.
Thanks very much. I'll work hard so that I pull through the assessment part. Thank you.
I think that's a very good plan, I must be honest. Are there any other questions from anybody? I see somebody logged in late and they want to know where to get the recording. Colleen, I can't help him. I'm sure that you can. But I don't see any more hands up. But I would just like to wish you all luck as you make these decisions. And I'm going to reiterate what I said. This is a big ask and it's a big commitment. And I always say to MBA students, you asked, or PDBA students, you asked to get onto the program. So if you get onto the program, at least work to get the qualification. Oh. You know, it's not an undergrad degree that your mother says, Dean, you've got to go and study now. You asking to get onto the program. And I find it quite disheartening that people get on the program and then they don't want to work. As I said, we expect a level of maturity in terms of the way that you manage your learning, the way you manage your relationships within your group, and the way that you you manage your relationship with the knowledge. Those are all very, very important areas. So please give it some thought. And then, as I said in the closing slide, please contact Charlene or Dr. Jooste. And Dean, I just want to thank you. It's so nice to see you. I'm not with my I've got connectivity problems, but lovely to see you. Thank you for giving up your time and on what you've managed to do post-graduation. We're very proud of you. And hopefully, I don't know when, we'll get across the water somehow.
Exactly.
We can catch up, but thank you. And I say good luck with your venture. It sounds exciting. And if we can help, you know where we are. So
for sure.
From me, Colleen, I don't know if you want to say a quick goodbye to everyone.
Sorry, can I ask the last question? Tell me, Colleen, let's say I start studying here in Port Elizabeth, and then later I'm busy with my MBA, and then I move to Mpumalanga instead of Gauteng because it's like outside the radius of 60 kilometers. What's going to happen? Because I mean, we know these engineers, they normally move and look for better opportunities.
Mangaliso, that's not going to work. It would possibly work if you were at the late stage of your MBA, but it won't work because you've got leadership, you've got courses in your second year. If you had to relocate from Port Elizabeth to Gauteng, where we have students, or to East London, or to Durban, or to Cape Town, but you would then have to make application to a university like UNISA, to see if they would accept you over as a student, as a distance learner. So that's something you're going to have to consider before you make that commitment.
Okay, can I ask maybe in terms of graduation or maybe in terms of applying for another institution? Let's say, because normally they look at how many subjects do you have in that specific institution. Will that not apply in this situation?
Yes, it will apply. You have to do 50% of your degree through the university that you graduate from. So if you did 90% of your degree with us, UNISA would not accept you. And the rules around that are because of subsidy from government. So they can't give UNISA subsidy and us subsidy for you at the same time. So I think, and I'm going to be quite honest with you, if you're going to make a commitment to doing your MBA, you must make that commitment. If you're thinking now, oh, maybe in March I'm going to relocate, then I think you need to rethink your commitment. So as I say, yeah, you can't just move around, and we're not accredited for that kind of teaching. There are business schools that are accredited, like, as I say, UNISA, they do a MBL, and I think there are a few others. So I really would recommend that you sort that out before you make a commitment to study.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so let me wish everybody a good evening. I'm going to ask Colleen to do a final closing, and then I hope to see you all in my strategic marketing class next year, where we're going to do personal branding and digital twins and all those things. So thank you for your time. Colleen, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Cullen, and thank you so much, Dean, for your input. Whenever we go on our international tours and we are in Germany and close to wherever Dean is, then he always comes and speaks to our students as well. And he's joined us, I think, once or twice when we went to the ambassador in Berlin. So it's really lovely that we can count on alumni like yourself and who's done so well. So thank you so much for that. And thank you to Prof. Cullen as well. Just from what Prof. Cullen also said, obviously, if you've applied and you would have spoken to either myself or Charlene, we would have emailed you either that we still require documents, that we are busy assessing your application. And then I've also started emailing some of you outcomes in terms of you are moving on to phase 2 or what is the status of your application. So please do look out for that. And then second, lastly, if there's any additional questions that you've got, or if you are wanting our application pack, please do email either myself or Charlene, and we will then send that on to you. And just one last time, please do remember that our applications close on the 1st of November, and we do work on a first come, first serve basis. So please do keep that in mind. We do have limited seats on our program as well. So thank you so much, and we look forward to engaging with you during the application stage.
Thanks, Colleen. And Dean, before you disappear, Andre sends his love.
Great. Please send my regards too. Thanks.
I will do that. And yeah, really nice to see you, and good evening, everybody. And I hope to see you soon in the future. Bye-bye, everyone.
All the best, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.